Welcome, Chris. Crowdfunding Roundup. What do you need to know this week? What launched? What's new? Why is it new? Why are we talking about it? And where is it going in terms of funding and crowdfunding and money raised? Maybe we'll throw some old ones in there and recap some of those as well if we're at it and we got some time. So that's all I got. Preamble over. Let's go right into it. First up, we're going to be talking about River Wild and Ancient Realm, two solo-only button-shy games. And what do you need to know? Because they're already raising $37,000 with this campaign. Now, oftentimes, and I forget if I'll scroll down here at the bottom and we'll see in a second, whether or not they are including other games from their previous collection, allowing you to order them through the crowdfunding campaign like they've done previously. But these are two very different, but also very similar style of solo games. River Wild is essentially you're just laying down these cards next to each other, a la sort of a Carcassonne-esque Isle of Skye vibe, and you're creating valleys, you've got mountains, you've got plateaus, you've got rivers, and you're just trying to create special areas. You're trying to box in certain creatures to score a certain amount of victory points. You're going to have the mountains that'll allow you to close them off or open them up like that. And you can see the icons on the sides are the mountain creatures that you're trying to entrap in the first place. And you can see how it evolves and entails and your score right there based on the bottom. They're offering you a free expansion that's going to add extra stuff. Now it's 6 extra cards that's going to be thrown in that you do not include into the other 18 cards, but you're going to have a 6 deck sitting on the side. So when you achieve certain conditions, you get to add one of those cards extra to your tableau, essentially allowing you to score extra points along the way when you achieve those certain conditions. The second game up here, River Wild, is a little bit more intriguing actually, because on the backside of these cards, you have resources. Because you have your resource cards right here that you can use to count up on all of the sides. And when you're getting those resources, you're getting them via these tableaus that you are going to be laying down. And now the tricky part is you're going to be overlaying them sort of like a Fall of the Mountain King style tableau, only instead of like a corner, you're laying over even like a portion of things, you know, 1, 2, or 3, or 1 or 2. And so you're covering them up. And so each time you lay one down, you activate what is there all across your whole tableau in order to generate resources, in order to pay for things, in order to get your combo engine building system going, sort of like you see here, because you're going to have people, you're going to have structures, you're going to have resources, you're going to have monuments that you're going to be trying to build. And that's how it's going to interact and build up in terms of your resources. Then if you go down here, you get the expansion that's going to offer new monuments as well as misfortunes. And I didn't talk about it, but on the back side of these cards right here, there is going to be an event. So when you draw them, it's going to have, that card into the tableau. But before it's drawn, when it's sitting on the top of the deck, that's going to be the event that takes place that round that's going to affect what you can do or how you can do things. That is the nutshell of both of these games. If you want both of them, it's only going to cost you $20 and it gets you the expansions. Yep, here's some of the older stuff with Rove and Realm. So you can get that as well as their Board Game of the Month Club. So that's why it's killing it. Jason Tagmeyer, and then you have Steve Aramini is the designer of both of these. So if you like Sprawlopolis, you like solo style games, they're always a good solid look-see, and I know people love them. And I've got a couple in my collection now too. So take that for what you will. Next up, From the Freaking Moon. And this is where you are going to be taking a heavy worker placement style spin. If you remember Collab from last year, when I had the dice on top of the little monsters and then I like move the monsters around the map. Well, imagine that only with mechs and astronauts, because that's essentially what you're doing here is you're putting different types of astronauts on top of these mechs. You're moving these mechs to different locations. When they're at certain locations, they can do certain actions. And you're going to be doing things like researching, laboratories, building foundations, and just gathering resources across the literal and metaphorical board. The big key to fame, they say here, is that there's going to be extensive modularity and asymmetry. And I'm not just saying that. That's all of what the quotes are going to tell you right down here. And that's also what they're going to tell you right here with the worker crafting, the strategic development of 5 different actions you're going to be taking that's tied to your tableau or your map in front of you. Each setup is different in terms of how the modularity setup is going to be. The faction is going to be different. They have a special building. They have a special asymmetric ability. And it runs you through a little bit of a GIF here series. You know, I'm going to get yelled at in the comment section if I don't correct that right there. And your rover, like it says here, you can put different astronauts, different combinations of astronauts, different types of workers on there. Different types of workers are going to cost you different types of food, because if they go out and work, they have to cost you a certain amount of food that you have to pay. If you do not pay, you can actually end up in the negatives, because each food that you cannot pay for your worker or your astronaut that goes out there, you actually lose 3 victory points. See, I actually read the rulebook, because you're not going to get that from the crowdfunding page. And you're sending these rovers to whatever location you want, gathering those resources, triggering those actions, or managing your base, building more greenhouses, building foundations to build your laboratories, gathering your energy as you upgrade this. Every time you gather income, then your battery gets refilled. So if you don't have a high enough battery, you're not going to maximize the amount of energy that you'll be able to take, because energy are your actions that you can take per turn. And the game goes until somebody expands past the marker in terms of the missions that they set off on, and because you're building spaceships and you're slowly building these spaceships over a series of missions, and so you can only build certain parts or certain aspects of it when the color matches whatever color you need it to. And so those are the things that you're going to be dealing with there. It's definitely one of the heavier games I've seen on crowdfunding recently. I'd say it's probably heavier than Scholars or an Age Contrived right now. So if you're looking for something of that weight, this might be of more interest to you. And then they just kind of run it down through here of what you're going to be getting, the stretch goals, different factions, different miniatures, the videos from the quote people up there, and they run you through a whole bunch of stuff that is just the bottom stuff that you're used to seeing. Price point's going to run you about 65 euros at this point, so that's fine. I like the fact that they only went with one price level, and that's kind of nice. Simplifies it out whether or not you're going to get it or not. So there you go. Take it for what you will. Next up, we're going to talk about the Quest Kids, The Giant Adventure. I have the expansion to the Quest Kids, the base game. My kids just got it. The kids love it. It's an expansion that I would not play the base game without. But this is sort of your Giant Azul, your Giant Jenga, your Giant Rhino Hero, right? This is Giant Quest Kids. And they take it and they simplify it out a little bit. I don't think the map is quite as extensive, or the walls, essentially, because you have areas that you can go to directly and walls that you kind of have to go around. And you've got these 3 different color tiles. The green are always good. The browns are mostly good, but sometimes you'll fight enemies. And the reds have much more of a high propensity of being enemies. You're going to be picking up gems. You're going to be fighting monsters, and you're going to be gathering resources in order to beat the monsters and get victory points. And you have little quests that you can do along the way, and if you don't have enough resources to beat a monster, other people can contribute, and if they contribute, you get a Kind Kid card. Kind Kid cards gives you big bonuses, anywhere from taking extra victory points to taking an extra turn. So it always behooves you actually more so to give your resources than to hoard your resources, because the resources at the end of the game actually offer you 0 squadouche in terms of victory points. So this was my big question before it launched. It's $68. So I mean, not bad. Not as much as I'd thought it might be, but also probably not enough for me to want to get it as well as a duplicate, even though it is kind of a cool gimmick. It says it takes up a 10 foot by 10 foot area, so you don't need a huge area for it either. So they run you through all of what it is, the victory points that you're tallying up as you go, how you play, and everything I just mentioned. So they've got some stretch goals here, more in the lines of quests, if you will, based on comments and that, and they're giving away a couple of free pledges when they hit enough stars each time. So solid game. I agree with Tom Vassel's quote. It's one of the better kid games I've played with my kids, period. So especially at the 5 to 7 age range. So if you have anything in that range, definitely consider it, or even just pick up the base game at retail or on the secondary market right now. I think it'd be worthwhile for you. So next up, Gavin Birnbaum's latest wooden creation from his self-produced factory is Quickfire. And so Quickfire, frenetic, quick flicking fun. This is, again, he's done a smattering of new stuff, and then he will reprint old stuff, because once he makes it, it's not really available at all, because he customizes, he hand makes all of these in his shop. And so essentially what you've got here is you've got 3 dice lined up on the other side, and then you've got 3 dice in the middle. And what you're doing is you're trying to flick your colored dice to knock off the center colored dice. But if you flick them too hard and they go in the other person's area, their little trough on the end here, then you actually lose victory points at the end. And you have I think it's 7 or 9 total dice that you're using to flick. And the round ends when either all 3 of these middle dice are off, or everybody runs out of the dice in between, I think. So, I mean, he always funds. He gets a couple $1,000s, and his products are fun. There's a little bit of I'm not sure what this one is. The A goodie and the B goodie. It doesn't actually say, so I don't actually know what those are. But you can check it out on Board Game Geek of what this gameplay entails a little bit more. But if you just watch the video as well, it's like a 2-minute video right here, and it'll tell you everything you need to know as well from that side of things. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, it's going to cost you $70, but again, it's handmade. I have Karoo, and Karoo is an absolutely fantastic sort of dice chucking game. It's the board game version of bocce ball, if you're familiar with that, where you have the white ball just sitting out there, and then you have to toss your ball in the yard, trying to get as close as you can to that ball, and everybody does the same thing. And so instead of tossing your ball, you're flicking a dice with a little catapult, and you flick your die onto the board, and it's trying to get next to the bouncy ball. It's a lot more fun than it sounds. It's probably one of my favorite dexterity games. My kids love it too. So anyway, Quickfire, wanted to talk about it sort of in between last week and this week. So there you go. Next, we're going back over to one we ever color on Gamefound, because it didn't fund, it canceled, and then went over to Kickstarter here. This is Dr. Finn's 2 new games, Alpujarras and Fisheries of... I'm not going to mispronounce that again. I just won't pronounce it, so then you can't criticize me in the comment section. Working smarter, not harder, folks. But I don't really think anything has significantly changed. 25 and 35 and 55 for both. So yeah, the rules are out there. It's sort of an area control canal building This is sort of a resource building action track style delivery game with a rondel, and you're going to be going across trying to gather your resources and then go to other locations on the rondel itself, dropping them off, scoring victory points, and then when everybody gets to the end, the game is tallied up and you see who wins. You get a little promo pack there, and then Fisheries as well is a fishing industry where you have a head-to-head fishing competition that you're going to be racing your boats out in based on limited conditions and limited actions each turn. You're going to be either navigating or putting down tiles over it to change the current that you can go through and how you're going to be gathering these fish. And yeah, everything is on the page you need to know. The rulebooks are there, and it comes with a little bit of an add-on as well if you want to do that. So I don't know how close it was last time. I think it was about the same, but it's about 2/3 of the way funded right now. So we'll see where it ends up, or if it's canceled by the time you guys see this video or next week's comes around as well. So take that for what you will. Got a couple more for you before we get to the end here, and we have Birdie Pro just launched. This is disc golf, if you're familiar with that, and it's a little bit of a weird take on disc golf because what you'll see on this page is you'll see these numbers next to the holes, and what that essentially means is you're going to be rolling 3 dice that you can add dice to subsequently, and the sum total of these dice is going to determine where on the course you land and where on each section of the course you land as well. You're going to have karma cards that you're going to be able to play both for you, against you, and that are neutral. And then you're going to have the ability to adapt and basically have other challenges that are going to come along your way as you're doing this. And it's got some take that, which is kind of weird, right? Some of these karma cards, like you play on other people's to like affect their roll, which is, I mean, you know, karma, but also take that with this is just kind of weird. So it's probably going to fund. It already funded originally. This is just more a reprint as well with an expansion here that you can see the Fox Run, and you can see a little bit of these pictures of how you're going to be going across and what's new here. Warm-up chips, custom die, the dice that you get to add here are the pluses, and they talk you through a little bit of the iconography here of the go for it. So conversions for a new kit too. So a little bit of stretch goal, future courses, and yeah, I mean, really check out the rulebook for this because it's kind of a strange concept, but it kind of works at the same time too. So if you have any interest in disc golf, Birdie Pro, check it out. Now let's go over to the other sites. Let's go over to their sites again. We have Sentinels of the Multiverse, the Definitive Edition, the Desperation expansion. Let me just talk about Backerkit though for a second here. I'm a little bit displeased by this. When you go over to Backerkit.com, right, I would expect you have your biggest, you know, I say whatever you want about Gamefound, right, where I criticize them about not having their stuff in organization and they always put their own projects at the top and the ones that get, I mean, I understand it because those are also your big money raisers. At the same time, where are your big money raisers here? You've got the breadwinner right here, which is fine, but then you go down the rest of this page and there's absolutely no information except for a couple other ones down here. And that's one of the 3 that's up top as well. So, okay, you go, okay, Chris, yes, whatever, right? Go to backers. For backers, Chris, clearly you're in the wrong place. Open a backer account. Why having a backer account is awesome. Nothing, again, about the projects. And to be fair, this is not where Backerkit has really gained their money. So you actually have to, again, this is not very intuitive. You have to go to resources here, then not crowdfunding favorites, but more trending projects. Now, this is also very interesting when you pull this up, right? Oh, I know this. Oh, look, there's Sentinels of the Multiverse. We're going to talk about that one. But then you go down and you see, well, there's River Wild, right? And there's Scholars of the South Tigris. And there's Acquisitions Incorporated and Age Contrived. Why? Well, because they're doing their pledge manager through Backerkit. So if you click on this, say the Age Contrived, go over and click on to Kickstarter. So just, you know, kind of an interesting page here. They've incorporated the Kick Track sort of page look here in terms of daily backers, daily funding, and funding progress. So just food for thought. It's just kind of a weird take. There you go. And then we're going back to it for Greater Again Games. This is the second big box expansion with disparate realities now colliding as you're getting 6 more heroes, 9 more villains, 2 pledge levels. They offer a bunch of add-ons, though they say at the same time. $50 is going to get you the foils, and that's why you're really thinking of picking this one up. Here are all the add-ons that I just mentioned. And when I was looking at this, though, I mean, like I said, it's $50, right? And this is probably one where you're really going to be supporting it to support the publisher more than anything else. Because I was curious, so I went over back to the original campaign and I said, okay, this gets you the promo foils. It's $50 US. Again, same price point. Shipping is probably going to be what, like $15 or so, I guess, at this point. So, you know, you go over back and you go, okay, it's about the same. And then you go over to Board Game Oracle and you notice it's about $43 at the lowest, maybe $45. So $5 less, including free shipping at some point, because you're probably going to get it if you're ordering from any of these top 4 or 5. So, you know, it's gonna save you the price of shipping, maybe. Is the price of shipping worth the promos? About-ish. Maybe plus $5. So it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That's actually relatively decent. And if you're a foil person, then it really makes it worthwhile. Brand new type of card, as with the previous Rook City expansion. They're adding new types. They're adding new phrases. They're offering new keywords. The one in here that they're calling are principles. Now, I've heard that it's more streamlined. It doesn't have a lot of the fiddliness that you were hoping that maybe you got rid of originally, with a lot of the upkeep that goes along with that. However, I just traded for a copy. Literally got my copy in the mail today that I traded for. I think it's just the retail. I don't think I have the foils. I don't think I'm that lucky. But I'm going to try it out here in the next month or so, and I'll let you know, because I wanted to like this game. This was the first game that I really saw past like Kings of Tokyo that I wanted to love. I absolutely wanted to love it. And I just played it like 2, 3, 4 times. And the more I played it, the more I just was not in sync with it. It just didn't hit it for me. And so with this, just like with Spirit Island, there's no stretch goals. They're going with daily unlocks of showing you what it actually entails. They're not even telling you what's in the game and who's in the game. They're saving that for all the unlocks here with all this redacted, which again, I really don't like. I am really not a big fan of this. I wasn't a big fan of it during Spirit Islands. I'm not a big fan of it now. So take it for what it is. Shipping here is going to be what it's going to be as well. So estimated shipping, like I said, about $15 if you're in the North America zone. So yeah, I have no clue otherwise. So it's killing it though. It's absolutely killing it. I did not think it was going to get this much, but I wonder if this is going to taper off too, because this is a 4-week campaign. So is it really going to just keep skyrocketing upward, or is it going to have a slow growth over the whole 4 weeks? So that's going to be the interesting price point testing, if you will. Now, back over to Gamefound. We are talking about the non-official Frosthaven and Gloomhaven compatible playmats. I will have a little snippet of a video out in the next week or so, because they sent me a copy so I can show you what they actually freaking physically look like. It's a big tube, folks. It's a big freaking tube. Like, these mats are... These are nice. I haven't even busted them out for the table, but I've glanced at them. But it's going to cost you. But their campaign previously, Crafting Kingdoms, they just did a set of bags on Gamefound like, I don't know, like 3-5 months ago, sometime in that range. And so that one had a little bit of struggle funding. This one, I mean, they went with a much lower funding goal of $1,000 here, but they got $12,000 raised already, because the price point on this one is actually a little bit higher. So 2 monster mats and 4 player mats is going to be $125. But if you're doing this as a lifestyle game of Frosthaven, you know, I hate to say it, but Frosthaven is a game that probably is one of the few that I would argue needs an insert. And if it needs an insert, are you going to probably get a playmat too? So yeah, you're probably going to think about it as well. You can piecemeal it though if you only want different sizes or different combinations of playmats as well. So I like that. I like the customization. Again, playmats are probably one of the few things nowadays that I would actually consider. Like, I'm seriously missing out on the Aeon Trespass Odyssey one. Like, I forgot to open it the day the Pledge Manager opened, and by the time I remembered, like a day and a half later, they were all sold out, because that was the one I really wanted to pick up. Because it just, when those boards are just so massive, it's such a nice feature not to have to like try and fold it up, because inevitably like the little corners get tears, or it just doesn't sit all the way flat because of those raised edges. You know what I'm talking about if you've had one of those big boards that has like 4 folds in it. So I'm really looking at getting some mats more for this in some of my games in the future. That's why I kind of want one of the unofficial Spirit Island ones, even though people are like, you can't really change it. It's not really adaptable, so don't buy it. But still doesn't stop me from being tempted. And I mean, it just is it's a solid quality product. Shipping is, you know, individually going to be what it's going to be. If you're going to pay $125 for mats, though, 10 or 15 bucks on shipping isn't going to be the make it or break it for you. So there you go. Solid stuff. And it's just whether or not you have any interest in Gloomhaven or Frosthaven, because Frosthaven is finally in the last throes of being delivered, I think, at this point. But we'll see, because I mean, this is always heavy popular, not only on crowdfunding, but also at the retail side, if it holds up like Gloomhaven did in the first place. So there you go. So that's it. That's the roundup. Tomorrow's video, it's going to be interesting. We have a couple interesting campaigns coming out next week, but the last 2 weeks of March, folks, the last 2 weeks of March are going to blow the budget off your door. I'm keeping that in there because that's what you get for watching the end of the video. It's going to blow the door off your budget. I mean, Elder Scrolls was just announced. That one's launching on the 28th. If you watched the news video, for some reason that one was not getting as much views the other day, yesterday. So people apparently don't like Zombicide. But the new zombie side, I'm gonna argue, is probably gonna launch on the same day, actually the day after of Elder Scrolls now. And so I wonder if the Elder Scrolls announcement is going to change Simon's mind and make them change or not, because I mean Simon's Simon, so I don't think they're going to probably do anything, especially with their flagship. I think that date is probably already, not penciled in, but like written in permanent marker on their calendars. So I'm still guessing Liege the 29th. And then, I mean, Flow is launching. And then, I mean, there's like 3 or 4 others that are going to be like just 6-digit campaigns easily. So the one launching next week is Flat Out Games, their Point City Deep Dive combo as well, which is really a high prospect for good filler. So can't discount high filler games. I mean, that's All Play, right? Board Game Tables just raised almost $500,000 on that one. So yeah, it's really developing into the crowdfunding scene much more. So take that for what you will. As always, subscribe, Patreon. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching in the first place. If you're one of those 4 people at the end here, I love it. Working on the lighting. Been messing around with this week. It's not satisfactory to me, so I'm going to try and work on that. But next week, I have about like 7 videos in queue right now. So one of these weeks is going to be like heavy reviews. So my reviews are building up, and there's going to be more of those in the near future. So beware. Also, though, if there's anything you want to see me review, let me know down below, and I will be offering a poll to the Patreon folks over the weekend of which upcoming games or which games I have delayed doing reviews on would you like me to do next. So that will be as well. But yeah, there we go. Stay classy. Have a great weekend. I'm working. It's going to be a blast.